Well, East Palo Alto was a predominantly black neighborhood in the 60s and 70s, and by 1983, black community leaders there pushed to have that area incorporated as its own city. This Black History Month, we are hearing from some of those who are part of that movement and how today they are working to preserve the city's history. KTVU's South Bay reporter LaMonica Peters is live for us in East Palo Alto tonight with more. LaMonica?
This city has faced challenges like any other city, but those who fought for its independence 40 years ago say they are building an archive so that future generations can remember East Palo Alto with pride.
This is actually the site of the incorporation where the committee met all those years ago.
321 Bell Street is now home to the East Palo Alto Community Archive. The meeting space is temporarily housing items and mementos that tell the history and current state of East Palo Alto. Last year, the city celebrated its 40th anniversary.
This community grew out of regular people getting together and actively campaigning to make this city what it is.
The East Palo Alto Citizens Committee on Incorporation formed in December 1979 to explore a path toward cityhood. At the time, the predominantly black neighborhood was part of unincorporated San Mateo County. Maida Okelo was a student at Stanford when he says he started attending committee meetings.
And they were talking about how police services were so inadequate. I remember that at the corner of Bay and University, they were selling drugs, and the sheriff's office was 30 feet away. So I understood. I totally understood why it was necessary for the community to come together and begin to control their own resources.
With voters heavily divided on the issue, East Palo Alto officially became a city on July 1st, 1983.
This is actually the first city council.
The incorporation passed by a 15-vote margin, with more than 3,500 people casting a vote. Barbara Mouton became its first mayor, and Ruben Abrica, who was on the city's first city council, would become East Palo Alto's first Latino mayor in 2006.
I'm helping with the oral histories and organizing them, and I'm as a records person, keeping track of who we've interviewed and where did the donations come from, the deeds of gifts and all of that.
Each community tells a different story.
Right.
You give them the opportunity, put a microphone in front of them, and they'll tell a whole different experience.
Currently, the archive's website chronicles all people who've lived in East Palo Alto, including Native Americans, Pacific Islanders, Asian Americans, and Latinos.
And so this archive is actually an instrument of empowerment, okay? So that people will be able to tell their own story, authentic story in their voice. And that was very important to us as we put the archive together.
Wilson also says that they want to raise $1.2 million to create a museum, a permanent space for the East Palo Alto Community Archive. Claudine?
It's such an important project and such an important history to remember. Do they have a timeline for when a permanent museum might become a reality? I suppose it depends a lot on how long it takes to raise that money.
Exactly, yeah. It depends on how long it takes them. They haven't actually rolled out their campaign yet, but they're gearing up for it. So hopefully, in the next year or two.
Yeah, certainly. We'll keep an eye on their progress. LaMonica, thanks so much for that live report.
We're here at the Drew Health Foundation holiday party. This is gonna be on the little ticker on in McDonald's. Oh, yeah,
All right, peace. Get on the bus. This is our excursion, our travel excursion in the Bay Area. Right now, as you can see, we are in front of Palo Alto High School. And, you know, when people talk about the Bay, they talk about San Francisco, they talk about Oakland, you know, some might mention Berkeley, Vallejo, but few people mention the cities of Palo Alto and East Palo Alto. So on this particular segment of getting on this bus for an African American tour experience, remember, we're focused on the Twin Cities area, but what we're doing right now is we're traveling to other areas to bring you some unique history. We want to talk about this. For some of you jazz people out there, Thelonious Monk, a great musician, a great creative, actually came here of all places in 1968 to this particular high school. And one of the things about Palo Alto and the divide between East Palo Alto, if you think about it, you know, there's always things in different cities in America that separate us. So in 1968, when the Thelonious Monk had this particular concert here in Palo Alto at this high school, it represented a lot of things around that division. First of all, directly across the street is Stanford University. Right now, it's the heart of the tech industry, the pulse of the world, really, in terms of technology and commerce and all that meeting together. And when you think about the city of Palo Alto, present day, it is home to some of the highest, residential home prices and home values based on that industry. Interesting enough, when you go maybe 10 minutes away from where we are right now, across the highway, is also a home of a historic black community of East Palo Alto, California, that was basically like most black communities after a certain migration pattern from the south to the north and to the west. Particularly after World War II, a lot of black residents at that time, a lot of black families settled into these communities and created a powerful identity in terms of family, in terms of shared commerce, business, culture, and other things. So the quick story about this is that in 1968, this man was contacted by a Palo Alto high school student who happened to be 16 years old. There was an effort and some energy to, yes, have a jazz concert, but at the time in 1968, as you know, in any city in America, that was a disruptive period where there was a call out for radical forms of justice and equality, especially for black folks and the many issues that we face in our communities then to present day. And so Thelonious Monk was basically contracted to hold a concert. And I believe when you do more research about that concert was supposed to be a concert that bridged some kind of unity between these two communities that were definitely divided at the time. And I would argue to say still divided on many levels, especially in terms of infrastructure and financial development, business, and really the realities of home ownership is crazy. I mean, it's a interesting things how some of the previous patterns of history stays the same as history moves forward. But that is what we're doing right now with this quick segment of 1968, the legacy of this great jazz legend, the Thelonious Monk, the connection to Palo Alto and East Palo Alto, a community, two cities very divided on income and really the way that these communities share their humanity together. So it's an amazing story. I encourage you to do some research. And I encourage you to seek stories out just like this wherever you are. Of course, this is Get on the Bus African American History Tour experience. And we are based in the Twin Cities. For more information about our unique offerings in Minneapolis and St. Paul, please give us an email at getonthebusmn@gmail.com. getonthebusmn@gmail.com. And you know, things like music, things like culture, things like a greater purpose of who you are as a human being can bring people together. But when we fall out of those particular values, it can also divide people. And so in the city of Palo Alto and also the historic black community of East Palo Alto in 1968, those black people wanted to name it Nairobi after the Kenyan city, Nairobi. What a great call to redefine yourself and to claim a bigger purpose than really something that's mostly looked at as something of you having less value. So in honor and tribute to the great elders in East Palo Alto, California, and their move to rename the city Nairobi, California, we honor them, but we also honor Thelonious Monk, and we also honor the courageous young man who was 16 years old to try to bring people together in 1968 in this southern part of the Bay Area called Palo Alto and East Palo Alto, all right? Get on the bus, African American Tour Experience, do the knowledge. Peace.